This set of notes is on fish adaptations. So we're going to cover things like different body sizes, mouth types, colorations, and reproductive strategies that fish use to survive. So first are our body shapes, and this is just a few. Fish can be separated into many more body shapes. So the top three are the most common. So we have the fusiform shape. We see here in this guy here, just sort of a round oval. This is probably the most common fish body shape. And we have those that are compressed. So if I were to take this guy and squish him from side to side, he's compressed. So we see that with a lot of reef fish and other fish that have to be able to maneuver in between obstacles. And then there are those that are depressed or flattened. If I were to take this guy and squash him down, he would be depressed. We see that with a lot of our fish that are bottom dwellers. So things like stingrays, flounders, anything that's going to live on the bottom is going to have that flat shape. Other shape include those that are eel-like, so being very long and skinny. And then fish can have a combination of these shapes, or perhaps they're round about the head, like in the anglerfish, and then skinnier or more compressed towards the tail. So when it comes to mouths, there are lots of different mouths because there are lots of different things to eat in the ocean. And so mouth shape is going to vary based on what animals are eating. So it might be very long and skinny, like with this butterfly fish that's going to eat small shrimp and other little invertebrates from in between the cracks on a reef. Some fish have very large mouths. Now that large mouth can be for bringing in lots of water for filter feeding, or just simply for it being big enough to swallow another fish. And then we have those with a beak-like mouth, used for scraping algae or chewing on plants. And then one that's pointed downward, very important for our bottom-dwelling fish. So when it comes to feeding styles, that's going to mouths lend themselves to different feeding styles. So predators need to have big, large, sharp teeth for grasping prey, like we see here with that barracuda. Other ones that are more scavenger-like will have smaller mouths, like this little pinfish here. While it is predatory, or at least a consumer, it's going to take small bites. Oftentimes these will be found like this one here, following a predator so that they can clean up the scraps. Then we have those that are strainers or filter feeders that have very large mouths and very long gill rakers in order to filter food from the water, like the herring. And then many of our bottom dwellers have this sucker type mouth that are really good for sucking food off, along with barbels, which are the little whiskers that they can use to feel for food in the mud and sediment. Now the orientation or the position of the mouth is important, particularly if we think about our aquarium fish and what we're going to feed them. Those whose mouths are pointed more upwards will do great with fish flakes that float on the surface. Those whose mouth is pointed more in front might do better with pellets that are small pellets that are going to slowly sink. All right, now on to defensive strategies and coloration. So there's cryptic coloration or camouflage, just being able to match your background or your surroundings in order to hide. There's counter shading. In counter shading, the dorsal or the back side is dark and the belly or the ventral side is light. This helps with animals, not just fish. You can also see it in whales and in penguins. But with animals that are living out in the open ocean where there's not ground to blend in with or anything to hide with, that dark helps them to blend in with the dark bottom when viewed from above, or blend in with the light sky when viewed from below. There's also disruptive coloration. You can find this with lots of schooling fish or reef fish, where they've got lots of different colors or stripes and bars that just make it harder to see for a predator to see the outline of a fish. Some fish are going to be brightly colored. Some fish, like the lionfish, use that to advertise that they are toxic, don't eat me. Others, like this octopus here, well, not a fish, but as an example, are using it to imitate that toxic fish. Our next coloration strategy has to do with eyes. So lots of fish will have an eye spot. So this eye spot looks like a really big eye when this butterfly fish is not all that big. Or here with this red drum, it's got an eye spot on the tail. So if a predator is going after the head, it's going to attack the tail of this fish and not the actual head itself. Many times there's going to be an eye bar, so a stripe, to help hide the real eye, along with an eye spot. And some of our fish have extra thick scales, which make them more protected against predation. So things like the coelacanth and the gar are very heavily scaled. Oftentimes this is going to be with the ganoid scales. And we have our spines. These are used for defense, protection from predators. Sometimes they have a toxin in them, sometimes they don't. So here, this puffer fish, its spines are not toxic. And so it's just pokey and would hurt versus the spines of a lionfish, which are toxic. Schooling's another strategy. You've got a better chance to survive. If you're with a large school, it's harder for predators to pick out just one single fish, and then the odds are sort of in your favor. If only we've got a seal that's going after this fish, our seal's sort of back there in our picture. He only needs one fish for dinner, and you're swimming around with 1,000 of your friends, well then you've got a very good chance of survival. We also see different adaptations when it comes to methods of reproduction. So most fish reproduce externally, and the most common way is through broadcast spawning, just releasing large amounts of egg and sperm out into the environment. So oftentimes fish will come into a school to release their gametes. Now in this case, the fertilized eggs have no parental care. Oftentimes many of them get eaten right away. And because there are millions of them released at one time, the chance of at least a few surviving is very good. Now, not all fish are bad parents. Many fish will brood. This is generally done by the male. And what it means is that the male, or at least one parent, is going to protect the eggs. So a very well-known example is the male seahorse, which has a pouch. The female lays her eggs in so that he can protect the eggs. Other fish will mouth brood, so this fish is not eating the eggs, those are his babies. Some, like this sea dragon, have it stuck to their tail. Oftentimes, if brooding's involved, there's also going to be a courtship. So it might be a little dance or nest building. So here with our African cichlids, the male will build a nest, female will lay her eggs, and then he'll guard the eggs there in the nest. And then last is migration. So many fish species migrate during their life cycle. Sometimes they're just changing places within the ocean in response to a change in environmental condition, or something like temperature. If it gets colder, they might move farther away from shore to deeper water, or looking for more food. Others change habitat altogether. We have some like salmon that are called anadromous, meaning they go from the ocean, from salt water, where they live their adulthood, out to freshwater. Others, like eels, are catadromous. They live most of their adulthood in freshwater but travel out to the oceans to spawn.